Have you seen this? Will a twice reviled Tennessee Williams play find success with the right neurotic celebrity couple?
Welcome to Have You Seen This?
The world's only podcast about obscure, overlooked, and misbegotten media.
All discussions will be spoiler heavy.
You have been warned.
This show would not be possible without the support of our patrons. If you would like to support our show, join us at patreon.com/haveyouseenthis. Patrons get the show a week early, and $5 supporters also get access to our Discord. Or you can tip us at our Ko-fi. Visit the link in the show notes. I'm really excited to talk about this one because it is so truly camp. And we've talked about camp movies on the show before, but this is next level. But it isn't just...
It's sort of camp.
Yeah, it isn't, but it isn't just that. It's kind of fucking amazing. And I have the perfect guest here to help me effuse about it. He is...
Brought it to our attention.
Yes, he is the co-founder of The Aftermath, a really excellent video game and tech site. This is Chris Person. You might know him from Twitter or Blue Sky. I believe he goes by Papa Pichu on those sites. Definitely throw him a follow because he writes about so much cool stuff, including archiving of rare video and the exact kind of shit that we nerd out about all the time. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I do a YouTube show, I archive Laserdiscs, I write about tech, which was sort of more a thing, because I worked at Kotaku for like 10 years, and so I would like have the long tail of working at Gawker through like the good years and the bad years, and like, you know, Gamergate, all that horse shit, and then like the Hogan trial, and then
Jesus,
doing some stuff with The Verge, and then like finding my niche, which is sort of DIY and niche electronics, because I hate bullshit. I don't like that the computer is bad to be on, and I know how to solder, and I know how to like read a GitHub repo, and so I like, you know, I just like doing that shit. I like writing about technology in a way that is like, oh, the computer is something nice you can have. But I also have a film background because I'm originally primarily a video editor. And so I have this like really strange, sometimes I write about games, sometimes I write about media, sometimes I write about technology. I think that the things inform each other. I think you can learn a lot about specific things only through those intersections sometimes. And I don't know, people seem to like it. Mainly I'm just like, hey, check out the shit I found on AliExpress that turns out is really good.
Hey, you guys ever heard of this playwright called Tennessee Williams?
Who's that?
Yeah, dude.
This queen.
Right. Yes. He did this play. It was about it's called the Milk Train Doesn't Stop Here Anymore. Go figure that one out. They staged it twice, and it was not well received. But Elizabeth Taylor, she married a guy in there, a very popular couple, and then someone made a movie out of it.
Yeah, and this is maybe one of the most have you seen this movies that could ever be, because this was not only famously disliked and financially unsuccessful, it was also directed by, I think, one of the greatest forgotten auteurs, because I'll say it, not enough people talk about the GOAT, Joseph Losey.
God, Jolo.
You may have seen The Servant or Accident or The Go-Between, but he has such a rich body of work that is kind of being overlooked. And Chris,
So naturally we start here.
That's what editing is for, Tim. Chris, I have a feeling that liking Losey is somewhat déclassé for whatever reason in film circles. You don't hear about him a lot.
I think it's because he has a really complicated career and he changes so much. I think in part, I think I have my theories. I think that like I think it's easy to peel off like the three films that he did with Harold Pinter, which is like you mentioned, the Servant, The Go-Between, and Accident. I actually just saw The Go-Between. I've been putting that one off. It's fucking great.
I love, it might be, I don't know if it's déclassé to say this, but I do love Harold Pinter, having been introduced to him at a very formative age. But please go on.
Well, I mean, okay. So what you got to know is that, all right. So his career spans, I believe it's from 1948 to 1984, which I only know because it's in your head a
It's a
little
nice
bit.
bookend.
Yeah, it's a nice bookend. But he goes from being okay. So he was a red diaper baby from Wisconsin. He was a commie, like sort of. You know, he went and he studied under Brecht, and I think people don't. I think people are kind of stupid now, and they don't understand Brecht's deal. You know, like Bertolt Brecht.
I'll buy
and,
that.
yeah, but it makes him make sense, I think, because I think there are these times when he does these very showy things, like in The Servant, with like these really elaborate set designs, and I think at the time people are like, "Oh, he's all substance," and it's like, but it's also Brecht, dude. You're supposed to be aware of the environment with like Brecht, you know what I mean? And like you're supposed to be aware of the artifice of it with Brecht. But he starts off being like with a movie called The Boy with the Green Hair. I mean, he'd done some other stuff before then, but he was also doing staging like Galileo, which is a Brecht play with Charles Laughton. And then he goes and he makes a bunch of movies, and then he gets Hugh Act really, really hard. Like he doesn't even bother to show up. He's like, I'm fucking out of here.
He was blacklisted and he went to Europe for more than a decade, I believe, and worked
He was
there.
basically, he didn't show. Yeah, I mean, like I think he might have come back, but like for the most part, he's interesting because there are certain directors that have like second and third acts in their life. And his stuff is always changing. And I think that's the thing that makes him both a hard sell, is that it's like, you want to be like, okay, I'm going to go look at The Boy with the Green Hair because I like love The Servant. And it's like a totally different movie. And he goes from being like one of the guys from Hail Caesar that captures George Clooney
Yeah.
to being kind of like a Queenie, like Europe-y director. And like he does both very well. But he's got like everything he does is interesting. I think that's the thing, is like even if it's not 100% working, it's cool. Like he remade M, and it's a good remake of M.
It is good.
And that's fucked up.
Yeah, you would think that you wouldn't be able to top the Lang original,
Oh, he doesn't.
which is fabulous.
But-
but
Yeah, of course. He doesn't like I don't want to suggest that he tops it, but he shoots it all in LA. And he shoots it all in LA on location. And it has some of the most beautiful locations of any movie of that time, of LA being itself. And I think he said as much. He's like, locations should be actors, basically. You should be aware, like there should be a didactic use of your set at all times. And like that's like the most continuous thing in his entire career. I think people are also kind of annoyed that he gets a little didactic, and I want to say, fuck you. I like didactic sometimes.
Same.
That's cool. I like it when the movies teach me a lesson. No, that's a thing that kind of became out of favor, I think, or people need some kind of have a veiled need. Like it has to be a little obscured, or else it's like annoying to them. And I'm like, sometimes I like a big obvious metaphor. That's why I like Hideo Kojima's work. I guess, he goes through all these different eras, and like even his later stuff is really fucking good. He has, I think, like The Trout is really good. It's his last movie. Even like Steaming, which is about a bunch of three British women. It's kind of like a gal flick about three British women trying to save a local public bathhouse, and sort of like the idea of like what shared spaces between women is like. He's always doing some shit. The Assassination of Trotsky. He got Burton to play Trotsky and Alain Delon to play his assassin.
yes.
Like all of these are like fascinating movies, and I think Boom is the most fascinating to me personally because it's also the favored movie of John Waters. This is his favorite fucking movie.
I can see that.
And there is a delightful Blu-ray commentary from Waters where he it isn't even that he's like holding forth on the movie. It's kind of like if you were on the couch with John Waters watching it in his living room, and he was just kind of like
Just like elbowing you, being like, this?
well, sort of like murmuring his little comments as he watched the movie, like looking at Liz Taylor and being like, "What is with that getup?"
Yeah, no, he's just being bitch. I mean, one time I actually did see he introduced a pair of movies at the Bronx Zoo. It was like a drive-in, and it was a double feature of Climax and Sallow. And
Wow, that is
honestly,
a slabo cinema.
I wonder what the lead-in was that, yeah.
Well, it's really funny because he was like, I'm gonna, it's like, here's the next one. It's I mean, because like Climax I'd already seen. I can take or leave it. I think it's interesting. I think it kind of doesn't use the music correctly, but I like that what it does. And Sallow I'd kind of never seen, but knew it by reputation, even though I love Pasolini. And Waters was like, I love this movie. Every time you see something filthy, I want you to clap. And it like made the movie experience like ideal, actually, because that's kind of how they shot the movie. Like the movie was apparently it was a great hang, is my understanding. Like shooting Sallow was rocked. It was like well catered. Everyone played touch football, and like
Good vibes.
it had great vibes because he was a fucking great vibes master. If you've ever seen his Medea, there's a photo of a Pasolini wearing board shorts next to her, and she's like, it's like so rad.
What a fucking king.
And then he got killed,
Yeah.
probably by the mob.
Yeah.
Too cool for this world. That's the problem.
He was too fucking cool.
Yep.
Killed by fascism, basically. Because, if we're going
Fucking
to
yeah,
talk about
but also like
great communists, like, you got to talk about Pasolini.
But like Losi, yeah, exactly. And I mean, like Losi, Waters likes Losi. He like said, I think he watched this with like while shooting Pink Flamingos with the crew, and like there's actually a poster for this movie in the back of Pink Flamingos, like hanging out in the background, because he loves the movie so much, and he's like taught classes and shit about how much it rocks and how it's beyond camp. I think he's being a little mean and catty sometimes with it, because I also think that people don't want to engage with the movie's text, and I think people are kind of I don't think people understand what this movie does well with the source material, and how they shot it was kind of like the text of the movie. You know what I mean? But I guess we
very well shot.
It's beautiful.
Slocum, I think.
Yes, Douglas Slocum. Not only a fabulous location, Sardinia, I believe, with a purpose-built great house for the action to take place in, but just fabulous production design, costuming. I think Karl Lagerfeld worked on the film as an assistant to the costumer. It is a feast for the eyes. And it's interesting what you say about people not wanting to engage with the text of the movie. And certainly there is the kind of John Waters-esque read of the film as, absolute camp. It's got fucking Noel Coward in it, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
And it is unbelievably queer. But, and this goes back to Tennessee Williams, like, as a portrait of a difficult woman, it is really something to see.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. And a difficult woman and her, it's Taylor and Burton. So in spite of the fact that this is basically a double miscasting, it's you cannot look away.
Okay, so everyone points to this being miscast. I disagree.
Okay.
Because, so in the original play, which nobody saw, so who gives a shit?
Not even
one? For the real. Okay, so it is worth talking about a little bit about the context of the original play, because it was supposed to be, between Kabuki and Greek chorus. Like, that was the idea. And it was, there were supposed to be like sort of stage hands that would just kind of like tell you things that were happening. And the thing about it is that like he knew what he was doing, I guess is the thing. Because like in the original, she's supposed to be really old and he's supposed to be very young. Mm-hmm. For people who don't know, the idea is there is a dying woman on an island who lives like a James Bond villain. She is constantly addicted to pills and injections, and she is constantly berating her staff and super mean in kind of like a
just high maintenance.
Yeah, Sunset Boulevard adjacent kind of way. It's like supposed to be.
Right,
and like in the original, she's supposed to be old. And then basically what happens is a poet washes up on her shore, Chris Flanders. And he's supposed to be like a sort of Dionysian like figure. Like it's supposed to be. But like, I have a quote here actually. I thought that the old woman who was about to die was terribly uninteresting. This is Losi. And I thought that the young man who was a beautiful and homosexual, godlike and unreal, was terribly uninteresting. So I more or less turned it upside down. I also thought that the place he described, Victorian Baroque, was terribly uninteresting. And what I tried to do is abstract that while making a reality of Elizabeth Taylor in real life playing herself in opera. And so he knows what he's doing by changing the film. Williams was working with him, apparently drunk and high most of the time. There's a part where I was saying there's like I found out some parts of the book where the caddy where he's like, he was only useful for like 3 or 4 days. Yeah. He was good to me for only 3 or 4 hours a day, what with the drugs and the drink. And he was far too under and terribly abusive.
Yeah. I believe that Losi had to hire a guy to do a little rewriting on the sly because Tennessee Williams was not hitting on all cylinders at that point.
George Tabori,
yes,
is actually who he had. It was I believe Hungarian. And Williams got really mad and said, "What fucking goddamn shit has been trying to imitate my style?" And Tabori writes this, probably the best line in the movie, actually, if we're being honest with ourselves, which is the line that like Burton devastates her with at the end, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, basically what happens is, there's an old, kind of queenie, dying old lady who has one gay friend, played by Noel Coward, who visits her, who's called the Witch of Capri.
We all have a friend like that, to be honest.
Noel Coward taking like what, a funicular?
Yeah. Like, this island has everything.
Dude, this fucking island has Easter Island statues in the background.
Just as like, and no attention is drawn to them at any point. They're just like there in the background.
They just never commented on it.
Yeah.
Just fucking never I think it's worth noting that before making this, he made Modesty Blaise.
Yes, which
is
was
sort of like
based on the comic. It's kind of hand waved as a James Bond parody. It's got Monica Vitti and Terrence Stamp. It's very strange, but
Dirk Bogarde too.
Yes, very
a
hypnotic.
Regular.
Yeah.
Dirk Bogarde with a great wig, and he literally like does the wigs. It's so good. It's so fucking. Dirk Bogarde is so sick.
He's amazing. I was just rewatching The Servant, which is like, I mean, that movie blew my tiny little college mind when I saw it back then. And when I went back to it, because it's on Tubi now, folks, it's worth checking out.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I was like, geez, I wonder if this is going to be as good as I thought it was in college. And like watching it now, more like 25 years later, it's like, oh no, it's better.
It's a better movie.
Yeah.
And it's the same set designer. Also, the people who don't know, the set for that movie was like a set. And it went up like 3 stories tall. Like it went from the outside of the building up 3. That stairwell is like one big thing. And like he tops himself, the set designer tops himself in this one by creating a house that's so fucking cool that Burton and Taylor wanted to buy it, and they had to explain to them that it was a set without ceilings, and they couldn't do that.
Just sold as is.
Yeah,
it's like it's up there with in terms of like abandoned like sets. It's up there with like the village from Popeye.
Oh right,
that's also an impressive set. Yeah.
God, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is a show where we sound like old people because somebody has to have standards. But I miss actual physical sets because you can do remarkable things digitally, but crazy endeavors like this where you have something in physical space, something for the actors to interact with, it just has so much of a better feel.
Inhabit, yeah.
That was like the best part of the Barbie movie, if I'm being honest. I was like, damn, they spent a lot of money on sets. That's sick.
Yeah, and I think it that physicality is so much better than just like, okay, I'm saying my lines to a piece of gaffer tape on a stick.
Actually, the Wicked movie has great sets, I will say. Even though it's like looks like that, like they do a crazy number in there. I actually thought that Wicked movie was okay. They do a set number that involves like a library that's a tube, and like cylinders are rotating, and they're like wandering, and it's like they actually had to make that shit. And there's a surprising amount of practicals in the first Wicked.
Interesting. I've never really engaged much with Wicked because I tried like watching the musical once, and I was like, I don't think this is going to be for me. And I do like a lot of musicals.
You don't
but-
have to.
Yeah.
You don't
figured it
have
was
to.
fine.
I do think it made like the guy who made it, John Chu, made Step Up and like Step Up to the Streets and shit. And so like that, and I guess
Oh, so
Crazy
he's got
Rich
cred.
Asians. Yeah, but no, but I mean like,
Street cred.
I don't know. That's a side tangent because this movie is basically, basically what happens in this movie is Liz Taylor is dying and she is slowly dictating her memoir, to quote Burn After Reading, my memoir.
And she's dictating it to everyone.
Everybody, in case
Memoir
she has
singular. Yeah.
one of the craziest setups because it's like a PA system that pisses off everybody every time she uses it.
The idea being that whenever she expresses herself, everyone has to hear it, and they're just absolutely sick of it.
Yeah, it's so that her assistant, who is a white lady named Blackie, who wherever she is can write it down. And Losi has a note about this. And also, the music is this like fucked up calliope music that happens in the background that is clearly being played by her. Like you think it's just like this really haunting hypnotic music, and then she turns it off, and it's like a really funny beat.
Yeah, it's diegetic music, and I cracked up at that part when she.
It's one of the funniest fucking bits. I was just like, oh, that was just on. Losi has a note about this I saw. The system of push-button hi-fi throughout the villas and terrace makes possible music whenever desired. Music should be Wagnerian and horrifying. It should merge with the sizzling sound associated with the image of the sun and the diamond. Sound effect of the sun should be musical and probably mechanically distorted, an intense hissing, almost supersonic sound, which recurs with variations throughout the film.
And music, of course, by another goat, John Barry. I love John Barry.
Yeah, fucking great.
Yeah.
And it's this, yeah,
It's a waltz, and
it's a waltz.
You get this like, a very obviously very simple beat, and that motif is almost like madness inducing because it's repetitive.
It makes you crazy.
Yeah, and it's not overused in the film, to the film's credit. But it also has this once that kind of calliope music starts up, then there's this like hammered dulcimer or something that comes in that's like really beautiful. It's so strange.
It's the damnedest fucking thing.
Yeah.
The whole movie is strange. I think. Okay, so like, basically what happens is Chris shows up and he's macking on the servant. He's let's be real. He's getting laid, but also Mrs. Goforth. By the way, the name Sissy Goforth is the most Tennessee Williams name you could fucking conjure.
I said to Tim earlier today, okay, one way to read this movie is that all of the main characters are basically gay men.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
just super queenie.
Part of that was also that like the Witch of Capri was in the play as a woman, and then they cast Noel Coward as the role. Originally, Losi wanted Sean Connery as Chris and Simone Signoret. I'm sorry. And then I think Ingrid Bergman and James Fox is from The Servant, and then they settled on Burton and Taylor.
I believe that
yeah, everybody-
I believe Liz Taylor put the screws to the producers, and where it was like, no, you have to cast my husband.
Yeah. Well, also, okay. So the
Package
thing
deal.
about it also is that like I forget this isn't the first movie that is a collaboration with Losi. It's not the first movie that she did with Tennessee Williams, obviously, and
The first one being Suddenly Last Summer, I believe.
and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
You're right, that was first.
And I forget if I think basically the movie that's right before this is Secret Ceremony. You could do entire fucking episode on Secret Ceremony. The
yeah.
quick version of that is it is Mia Farrow and Elizabeth Taylor and what is it? Night of the Hunter. The guy from Night of the Hunter. Fuck. With the knuckles. Fuck. What is it?
Robert Mitchum.
Mitchum. Thank you. I'm sorry. Mitchum with the worst facial hair he's ever had.
Which is
And
rare
it's-
for Mitchum. I don't recall a lot of movies where he did have facial hair.
Well, it's no mustache. It's just the beard part.
Ugh, that's a
Yeah,
tough
no,
look.
I mean,
That
it's
does
meant
sound
to
terrible,
be. He's
yeah.
meant to be abusive. It is a more fucked up movie than Rosemary's Baby, and it came out the same year.
That's an endorsement.
It is a wild fucking
Yeah.
movie. I think more people are willing to be like, it's campy, but it's fun. And I also don't agree with that. He's making a really beautiful movie that is like really chilling and haunting and about abuse.
Mm-hmm.
But so they had worked together before, and I think that, like, if memory serves, he was like, Burton was like kind of like nearby also shooting a movie, and I think that he was like, I should be in this movie, you know, they kind of like that. And so I think this was also a sop to get them to do that as well. But I forget if this was like before or after then, but I know that they had worked together in that capacity as well.
Mhm.
The funny, so basically, like, it is revealed throughout the time that Chris Flanders is this poet that's basically like the guy that shows up, and it's of course revealed by Noel Coward being a total queen and a bitch about it, being like, he shows up when there's an old person who's about to die, and he's the last thing they see, and that's basically his role.
That's why they call him the Angel of Death.
Yes,
He's kind of like a dark Kato Kalin, if you will.
he's kind of, I mean, we're gonna get into it a little bit later, but like he's doing basically assisted suicide in a weirdly new age way. Do you know what I mean?
It's sort of interpretive palliative care.
Basically, yeah. Like he's
Yeah.
and like, you know, the movie is really hard to summarize. I think you just kind of have to live inside of it. But there is an end point to it. I should also say that there is a shroud that exists in the movie, in the background, that is like, I mean, if you've seen the shrouds, it's like the shroud.
Pretty subtle.
Well, first of all, it's golden.
Yeah.
A golden
apparently
shroud.
it was meant to, what is it? Lydia Bengelis, I think. It's meant to be her, like, her knots, basically. It's a giant gold weird thing on the wall that's meant to be like a death shroud in the background. And it's like haunting her. And it's like, Taylor just is clearly not having a good time. Like, she's obsessing over her memoirs. She's not only that, she's also talking to Noel Coward like a weird, like Proustian reverie, being like, talking about how every moment is like the persistent, you know, like,
It's just
yeah,
like, a
like she's
memory.
like, it's
Yeah.
so strange when I'm over there. Also, they're having a crazy dinner where there's like sitar players and shit, and she's wearing, you should just talk about the outfit she wears. There's a kabuki outfit in this movie that's one of the craziest fucking things I've ever seen in a movie.
This costume that she wears to dinner is one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen. And
It's amazing.
as I said to Tim earlier, like, I kind of want to live in this movie. I don't want to be this woman per se, because and the movie is still quite relevant today because it's about the simultaneous munificence and stinginess of the wealthy and their intense fear of dying. Like this feeling of like, I'm too goddamn important to die. Witness me. So maybe I don't want to be that person, but I sure as fuck want to be got up like this just to go to dinner with one other person because it's like a white, I want to say rhinestones, but I mean, it's Liz Taylor. Like, she didn't wear rhinestones. It is this jewel encrusted white gown with this like incredible starburst of a headpiece that makes her head look like a crystalline supernova.
It's meant to be kabuki in that sense, but it's not really. And everything, I think she was told, I think originally she wanted more color, and then eventually they settled on everything should be sort of tones of white and black. Like, she forces Chris to wear basically a samurai's kimono. And like the Orientalism in it is so pointed because it's both like Williams's own obsession with kabuki, but also like part of the inhabiting this movie is being inside a world in which people are in Europe and they are that drunk. And it really does put you in the mindset of the people shooting this on some level. Because it's like, if you've ever read Burton's diaries, like he was that motherfucker.
Yes,
he was,
famously
like,
pickled.
He was very pickled, which is the sort of inversion of him as like this death figure, as like Thanatos figure, is like very funny because he is like very like he's carrying a sword around the whole time, which is also very cool. Like he's wearing like a samurai sword. And Taylor does this whole part where she's just like, "Oh, I learned a little bit of kabuki, yeah, and she like barely tries, and in a way that's like quite funny.
And then she's like, "Oh, I must have the vapors. I have a headache. I can't."
Kind of,
do
yeah.
this."
I mean, it is
It's
the
like,
in
what
many
did
ways.
you do today?
She got injected by like 30 times with like. There's a part where like she's talking to Noel Coward and she's like, "Have you been doing the thing where you get all your blood replaced? You can't do that. It's not good for you. You have to eat food occasionally."
I was
In
speaking
Sweden,
to Keith Richards the other night, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, she's with her assistant with like just an array of pills out.
Yeah, and the way that she's introduced in
Just
the
like
film, and like you said, essentially, this is Liz Taylor playing herself. Elizabeth Taylor, maybe the most beautiful woman in the world, one of the most famous, also like a famous invalid. She had quite a bit of illness to deal with during her life. It started from very early in her career. She actually broke her back filming National Velvet, and that's just kind of where it all kicked off. She won an Oscar while in bed, basically. And it was kind of a pity Oscar because I think it was for Butterfield 8. It's not considered one of the great classics. It's more of like a camp classic, but it was like, oh, poor Liz, she's not doing well, and she's worked so hard in her career. Can't we just give her an Oscar just this once? And then cut to photos of her holding her Oscar in her bed of sickness. So the way she's introduced in this film is face down on a bed, not clothed, receiving a massage, and then being seized by an agony of pain and, groping for her ever-present intercom and saying, "Pain! Injection!" So this is a woman who's suffering, but like so many Williams heroines, she is suffering. Well,
It's a
yeah,
hot
because she
mess.
is suffering, but it's the kind of suffering where the people around the suffering person will eventually get fed up and just be like, "Jesus Christ, like, just can you be normal for like 5 fucking minutes?" Because this is so...
Yeah, they got to spread that misery around.
Yeah, they're not women who bear their suffering in silence at all. It's everybody's problem. And
it's a bit of misogyny from Williams.
a little.
Also, if you've never heard Tennessee Williams speak, there's a couple of videos of him from the 80s. He sounds exactly like you assume he would. I didn't expect him to sound exactly the way I assumed he would. I thought, maybe I'll be... No, he just sounds like the gayest man you've ever heard in your life. It's really fascinating. But yeah, I mean, there is like... And you see a little bit of that, like, misogyny in Noel Coward's character. Like, there's a part where, like, there's a little cabin...
Yeah.
In the outside, it's one of my favorite lines in the fucking movie. This is the gayest thing that's ever happened in a movie. Because he's like introducing him to the guest house, which Chris is staying in, which is like straight out of a fucking Bond movie. It's like a circular bed, like the kind that Austin Powers is on, or something along those lines. It's like a weirdly shaped bed.
Mhm.
And then there's like a big, gorgeous, like painted fresco. It looks like he's in a cave. The whole thing looks like it's made out of terracotta. It's fucked up. Or like clay. And then there's like a big pool of like, I guess, cold water, like fresh spring water that he can in. And at one point, I think when his food's being brought over, he's basically doing poppers. And
Right.
he's asked what it is. And in the way that like gay men love lying, he says, he's like, "What the fuck is that?" And he's like, "I used to have a friend, who would carry around an ampule of ammonia, and when he would see a particularly fragrant woman, he would go poisson, poisson, which means fish, and then he would take." So basically, he's describing a gay friend who who keeps like smelling salt in case he smells a woman on her period. And then Noel Coward, of course, not wanting to like be like, but personally, I love women no matter what cycle of the moon they're on. But like, motherfucker's doing poppers. You can tell he's doing poppers. He just doesn't want to tell him he's doing poppers. And you can tell because like 2 seconds from then he goes choo choo. Like he starts screaming like woo woo. It's like very clear he's fucking high on poppers.
He's
if
a
you've
party
ever done
boy.
Poppers. He's just got that flush to his face, man. You
Yep.
know, and it's like
This was before
Um,
they had a word for or a phrase for chemsex, but I mean, it was fucking happening. And that little aside, which you correctly identified as like the most concentrated misogyny, like absolutely incredible. Like, James Bond on his worst day would not be like that big of a misogynist. It's like saying like, you know what I think about holes? I think their cunts stink, especially during that time of the month.
literally
And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Okay, well, I knew you were gay, but I didn't know like that you
That
took
kind
it
of
that
gay.
far. Like, fuck, yeah.
Yeah. Bond is doing it professionally. I mean, in this case, he's just doing it for the kick, just for the sheer enjoyment
but
of
also that kind of like old Queenie way of saying, but not me. I'm good.
Right. I associate with women. I mean, I wouldn't fuck a woman with your dick, but I'll hang out with them.
Some of my best friends are women adjacent, that kind
Right.
of thing. And also the crazy thing you should mention is that like Taylor has a head of security who's a dwarf.
Right.
Man with
Played
dwarfism?
by Michael Dunn, who was the
Yep.
mad scientist in the Wild Wild West TV show.
And yeah, I don't like the movie. Just the end of the movie is always like a fever dream for me. So it's really hard for me to like actively summarize like what the fuck is going on in it. But like she just continues to deteriorate. There's a scene in which like there's just so many scenes of like her like doing her memoirs, like reading little books. They at one point they bring an X-ray machine, which actually is in the play. And they're like, she's like, what the fuck is that? And they're like, your doctor sent it. It's so you don't have to go over there to Rome. And she's like, I don't give a shit. And I forget if she throws it off of a cliff or something.
Yeah, she basically shoves it off the edge of the terrace. And as it's like hitting the rocks, I just remember thinking like, good God, like that machine could not have been cheap.
Even as though like a prop.
Exactly.
Also, boom.
Yeah. Well, that's just one of life's moments where it's extraordinary to be alive. When you're throwing medical equipment off a cliff.
Also, yeah, I was just remembering like when
Living the
Burton
dream.
eventually makes the moves on her assistant, and in the middle of that, they are interrupted by her reading Goforth reading one of her memoirs, and it's like, because like, okay, so for context, she's had a bunch of like, she's been married to a bunch of guys who are rich, and of the people that she was married, only one of them died tragically. It's her 6th marriage. And she said, it ended in tragedy, 5,000 feet into the snow. My heart felt with him, and he was as shattered as I was. And in the play, that was funnier because that was a little too close to home for Taylor.
Yes.
Because her fucking ex-husband, she divorced a lot. We continued to divorce, but the one ex-husband who died was Mike Todd, who died in a plane crash in New Mexico. And that is sort of like, apparently bummed people out, is my understanding. Like it's this thing that's supposed to be a comic beat, but in the movie it's just like, yeah, that happened to me. And like you can kind of, if you go back, you can kind of see it in her eyes. Like you can kind of see her remembering her ex in on a film with her current husband, and like the one that got away, and the one that,
Yeah, and the death of Mike Todd, like quite famously, demolished her. She rebounded with Eddie Fisher again, famously, and was condemned like across the board for it. Debbie Reynolds herself, though, did forgive her a few years later, and they made up. And I believe they appeared in a TV movie together, like much, much, much later. But the parallels to Elizabeth Taylor's own life are really striking when you watch this. And it's one thing that I admire about kind of later career Liz Taylor. Like a lot of the films that she did in this period are really derided, as camp or like a, bad choice or whatever. But you can't say that, and she was not a trained actress really. It's just that she'd been acting since she was 6. But people kind of overlook like how good she really was, and one mark of a really great actor is like a willingness to fucking go for it. And this scene where she's basically like reliving the trauma of her husband dying while he's trying to fuck her.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's another movie. Have you seen Identikit?
No, I've not. It's good.
That is another Liz Taylor film. I forget the novella it's based on, but like I think it's Muriel Spark, but really great novella. And that's another movie where Liz Taylor like just like 100% goes for it. In that one, she's a woman whereas in this movie, she's a woman like just trying her absolute damnedest to avoid death. In Identikit, she is driving straight for death. Like this woman's death drive is insane. Like her basic aim in Identikit is like, yeah, I just really want to get raped and murdered, basically. Incredible movie of like roughly the same era, the mid 60s. Really worth seeking out.
The other beats in this movie, I think it's worth like going through. I think people don't understand the pace of this movie, and I think part of it helps to know that it was a play first. Mm-hmm. And I think that the director is a theater director, because if you treat this like a normal movie, you're gonna be like, this doesn't work as a movie. And if you treat it like a play, it also isn't a play. But if you treat it as kind of both things, it's perfect, to me at least. I think it's this, like, you are living in the experience of being a drunk or perpetually ill and being comically wealthy and comically, like, you are living a part of their lives. They kind of overtake, like Burton and Taylor overtake the movie in certain ways. It becomes a text of their life in many ways. And like, also, I gotta mention the fucking egg that they sit in at one point. One of the sickest things, because there's a lot of languishing, and I think that's part of it, and yelling, and like her yelling and like at her assistant and saying she's sorry, and then like they go down to the beach. They take the funicular, the weird like little train down, and they go by the beach, and it's really quite beautiful. But then there's this like, I guess you would describe it as a weird ceramic egg that has alcohol in all the windows.
What else do you need?
That's how rich I want to be.
It is like if you made an existential film that also felt like being like 5 Bloody Marys deep. It's like, it is the most late 60s, jet set lifestyle movie, but also with all the sadness that comes with that. Also, she has her own flag, which apparently I think it's like a griffin.
Yeah, golden griffin.
Yeah, no, it's a gorgeous. She's basically her own nation. You know what I mean? She's like a micronation.
Yeah.
And as the film goes on, it's sort of revealed that Chris is. I mean, do you want to kind of skip to a little forward? Do you have anything else to say in this area? Like, because it's hard for me to parse like what happens in the space.
Skip around, yeah.
We always do.
Important.
There's just this. Okay, so like she continues to deteriorate. She's coughing and bloody. She alienates her servants and everything like that. They just keep pumping her full of stuff, and like. There's this moment at the end where, like, also not only does she have a shroud, she has a shroud like mirror. Do you want to talk about like the weird like sleigh bed that she has and this like strange mirror in the background? It's gorgeous. Like the entire thing is gorgeous, and like basically just it's a movie about watching a woman die, and like Burton watches her die is how it happens, and he says probably the most devastating line in the fucking movie. You're not so tough that someday you're going to need something that will mean God to you. And I think it was whether it's just a hand or a person. I believe that's the line. He like fucking destroys her. You know what I mean? He watches her die, and like in these like small moments, and like that's why like her constant fear of her own death, but also like the fact that she was this sort of sexual invader to these other men's lifestyles. Like she was Chris. Mm-hmm. To these other men, and then Chris becomes this like Dirk Bogart's character in The Servant, this invader.
Yes,
who, as she's dying in her bed, I think like there's this like haunting fucking speech that he gives. If you want to talk about that,
there's like so much to talk about with this. But like, and jumping off of that with regards to this movie being a portrait of a dying woman, like anxious at any cost to avoid that death, it's kind of interesting the way that that Chris, Richard Burton's character, becomes like a facilitator of that death. Because he is maybe the only man since that first poet who died on the mountainside. He's the first man since then to actually be able to reach her. And their dance is very interesting because, she is really a nation unto herself. She's literally an island. And because this is what I found like so, this is one of the things that I found so like apt about this film, the portrait of the woman at its center. Like the way that so many women like will neurotically do this push-pull with the men in their lives. Like right from the beginning, while she is trying to repulse him in every way, like dogs attack him when he first gets to the island. While she's pushing him away, she's also kind of casting him in the role of like kind of going back to that man, that poet from the mountainside, like, putting him in the kimono, which as we found out was like kind of part of a ritual that she had with that man where they would like pretend to try to kill each other. And if there's anything more heterosexual than that, like, I don't know what is. I love any movie which is about how dangerous and fucked up relationships can be. It's why I love Bad Timing so much, about like two people just cutting pieces out of each other.
The Tourist, which we recently covered.
Yes, like the danger of being a straight woman, like being involved with men, but she's terrified, and she's pulling him in, but also like pushing him away and just like treating him like dog shit. And
well, like her servants, she's treating him like her servants, and also like early on in the film we see like a man who's like, I think what was it? It was somebody's like, was their son or their relative basically just died, basically because of how fucked up her weird island is.
Yes.
And like how she has like attack dogs everywhere. She lives like Mr. Burns, dude. She like has the robotic, like robot dog.
That's how rich she
literally
is,
yeah, she has that. And there's like a part.
The dogs
the dogs and the bees. And like she has this moment where I remember where like basically he's like, I'm not going to sue you. And she's like, well then, yeah, put that in writing. I like that.
Right.
I think she tries to get her assistant to basically retroactively put a "you will be attacked by dogs" sign.
Yes.
After he's already been attacked by dogs. So it's not a legal liability, which sort of gets to the like weird petty flintiness of rich people.
Yeah, it's such
like,
rich person bullshit.
Like the attack dogs part is fine. It's that there isn't a sign
right.
to warn them.
And that the way that all kindness has been pressed out of like the average rich person, because they're so like aware of like the potential like legal situations, that they will have this mentality of like, everyone's always trying to get something from me because I'm rich. They're always going to want money or like some material thing, and they guard it so jealously. And she's like the embodiment of that.
They're not a person, they're a corporation.
Yeah. Like it's like I said earlier, like the simultaneous like munificence and stinginess. And I think it's really important that throughout the entirety of the movie, she refuses to feed this man.
Yeah. They get food for him, and she like throws it out of his room.
Yeah.
Which is made extra funny by the fact that when she does have the meal with Noel Coward, neither of them eat.
Yeah, that is rich white woman bullshit if I've ever seen it. Like the anorexia of the very rich. And like I have to say it, like Elizabeth Taylor, like struggled with her weight throughout her life. She was treated like any woman in the public eye. She was treated like absolute dog shit for daring to gain weight as she aged. So no judgment to her on being fat or like trying to get thin or any of that. But this is like such a rich person thing where like the signifier of wealth is like, oh, I have all this fucking food, but I don't eat it because I must stay thin. And yeah, like that's a really interesting thing that you pointed out. Like the food is like kind of repulsive in that
It's
scene.
a giant. He refers to it. Noel Coward, the Witch of Capri, is like it's like a sea monster, and he's got it right.
Yeah.
It's this like big, giant, fucked
It's like
up
a
red.
fish. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like it's like a macro like Ren and Stimpy close up like style look
Yeah.
at this fucking fish's mouth, and it's like, fuck, I wouldn't eat that.
Guys are playing sitar in the background,
Right.
which like kind of sick.
Yeah, there, and you know, like, oh, by the way, there's like a monkey chained up on the terrace.
There's so much.
Gotta
So
have the
much,
monkey.
so many fucking details, like the doctor, the weird quack doctor who's doing all of like her Doctor Nick, you know,
Yeah.
in the Elvis sense,
Her
I guess.
Italian doctor who's like looking at her cells under a microscope, like.
It's like, oh, that's not good. It's just like it seems bad, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there's this pace to it that's just it's in some ways glacial and haunting. But I mean, one of my favorite part of the reason I love this movie is because one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie, is like it's like tied with like Seconds and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And this,
Good choices both.
in many ways, yeah, it's like a haunting depiction of people being afraid of their own death,
Hmm.
and then also the straightest people on earth, written by like two gay men
Yeah, Edward
by
Albee.
a playwright.
And
That does come across,
the,
yeah.
the contrast between Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and this film is very interesting because Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf might be like the Taylor and Burton film.
Mhm.
Like, you know,
Unquestionably.
the pugilistic George and Martha and the famously torrential relationship of Taylor and Burton. And I do love them as a couple, not just on screen, but like also IRL, because like, yeah, you know, they were two like, you know, jet set rich assholes, like, you know, like crusted with diamonds or whatever. But also like, if you've ever been in that kind of a relationship with someone who is so fascinating to you and so electric and you just have to be with them, but you can't be together because you're a disaster together. Again,
You're just
like,
awful.
Yeah, like, and that's not limited to straight relationships, but like, I think I love that kind of portrait of heterosexual relationships, like the disastrousness of men and women together. It's not to say that like, and you know, if I'm being like my 2025 like queer friendly, like gender neutral self, I'm like, hey, like it's all good, like any kind of relationship is good, like gay, straight, whatever. But the depiction of disastrous like heterosexual relationships is like, that is one of my favorite kind of movie, and I think this movie like falls into that category.
People are just the worst for each other and make each other worse by their presence.
Yeah, it's like a really primal kind of human drama, and I am here for it.
It's also just like talking about the push pull is really fascinating because yeah, she like repulses him at every point. She's like, "Get the fuck, who the fuck are you? Get the fuck out of here!"
Yeah.
You know, like, and then like she needs him because she's alienated basically everybody, her assistant, her servants. You know, like everybody in her life, she's alienated, and she's like the one person, like he says, like, you know, you'll need someone that means God to you, and he does mean God to her, like near the end.
Yeah,
Because yeah, that's what he says. He's like, sometimes I'm able to give people what they need, even when they don't know what it is.
And like, there's a kiss in this movie. So there's this really beautiful scene near the end where it's like them walking on the terrace. And I guess if we haven't painted a picture, this mansion is on the top of a craggy island looking at basically the hideaway from Porco Rosso. Like it is gorgeous. It is
It's
like
ballin'.
the most beautiful Mediterranean background you can imagine. Just there's like jagged island in the background, and there's this sunset, this golden hour sunset that's happening in the background, and then like basically they kiss, and I think it's worth like going back and watching that kiss again, because Taylor and Burton kiss, and there's a moment in it where she's succumbing, and then she like bolts upwards in the middle of the kiss, and her eyes open like she's having a heart attack, and then she succumbs again.
yes.
And it is the whole movie is that. It is someone dying in the act of love in a weird way, and the person giving that thing that they need. And afterwards she says thank you, and he says a woman doesn't usually thank a man for kissing her.
That's how lonely and just miserable she is.
She is, and like, you know, she continues to die and she continues to alienate people, and like the title of the movie is a reference to, like, I mean, do you want to talk about the title of the movie?
Yes. Because it's one of those movies where like the title of the movie is in the dialogue, and I think it's very important.
I'm trying to find the exact line, but basically it's like the sound of being alive.
Yes,
it's basically like the metaphor of the movie is like this, because like throughout the whole movie you're hearing the sound of the ocean, because they're basically in the, like, above the ocean, and it's this like sensation of like the waves crashing. And I think he talks about how like the waves are these things that like are both gentle and violent, and like, and it's the sound of being alive in many ways. And like there's, oh god, I had a note here about it, but throughout the movie she has this diamond on her hand.
Yes.
And I think she's sort of paranoid about it being stolen from her this entire time. And, you know, at the end of the movie, he does get the diamond. When she dies, it is taken. She kind of gives it to him, because I think, like, in a weird way. But there's a speech that he gives at the end. So he's consoling her. She's dying, and he proceeds to tell the most fucked up story about doing assisted suicide.
Yeah, how he learned that this was his calling.
He basically has realized, like, my whole deal is that I help people die. And he tells a story that, if you want to talk about like Virginia Woolf, is sort of like the story he tells about the boy in Virginia Woolf about like Bergen, you know, and like the boy who got in the car crash. It's like that level of haunting about, like, basically a man who was old as hell, and he basically just asked him to like drown him in the ocean. And he was like happy to do it, basically. And he says it in this very California new age way.
It's all copacetic.
Yeah. And he was like, he's like talking to a yogi, I think, or something along that lines. And he's just like, it's just like, and how the guy gave him money didn't matter. You know, it's like very late 60s California hippie shit. And he's telling this to her as she's dying. And as she's dying, he takes the ring from her. And then, like, he basically just, the movie ends with him like putting it in a glass of wine and then just dropping that shit in the ocean. Because you know why? He does this shit for the love of the game. That's the fucking movie, is that he does not care about money. And he laughs. He goes, boom. And that's the fucking end of the movie. It's like so sick. It's so cool. It's just this portrait of a man who's giving someone exactly what they need. And you just see like the waves crashing, fading over Elizabeth Taylor in her deathbed as you hear him go boom at the end. And it's just this movie's good. I'm sorry. Fuck anybody who doesn't like this movie. This movie's fucking sick as shit. It's like, it's cool to look at. It's haunting. There's like so much to get from it. It's Tennessee Williams' favorite adaptation of anything that was that, like, he said it was his favorite.
Yeah, and this is the man who had work like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or Streetcar Named Desire adapted, and those movies are considered classics. This one is overlooked, to say the least.
It's reviled. It's reviled, except by people who love camp, and I think that they're not even doing it, giving it its proper due. And like, I mean, you got like great cinematography, one of the best sets I've ever seen in any movie, and like this haunting, almost confessional between Taylor and Burton, kind of becoming the play and becoming a more interesting play than if it had just been about, like, you know, an old woman and a young gay guy, you know, who's like this like Venus de Milo figure coming out of
sort of metatextual.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like this Venus de Milo figure coming out of the fucking ocean.
Yes. Yeah. Now, Tim, you've been fairly quiet during this whole episode.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
Hey, no.
Like, this has been a wonderful discussion because you've really...
Yeah, we like to have guests on who are passionate about, you know, overlooked movies.
And you've clearly done your homework. And it has also enabled us to have to do less heavy lifting, as we should say. But, Tim, I do want to bring you into this discussion at this point, so I will put the question to you.
Oh, no, you don't.
Elizabeth
Okay,
Taylor,
go for it.
would you smash?
This is what I bring to the show.
I'm mostly kidding.
You know? Yeah. Well, she jerked me around, for a day or two, not feeding me, and then finally when she'd come around, I'd be like, "Yeah, no, give me that ring."
And you're like, you know what? This isn't Lego. It's worthless to me.
Yeah, don't even care.
Well, Chris, I really want to thank you for reminding me of this movie because, like, being a fan of Losey, I had heard of it but had never experienced it, and it is an experience. And it is one of those movies which, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's in the Golden Turkey Awards book.
Fucking what the Razzies?
Well, Jen, you're no fan of the
I don't know if
Razzies either, so.
Oh, that fucking book. Yeah, I fucking hate that book.
And we have evoked it. We've evoked that and the Razzies on the show because they got it wrong so often. And I think it is instructive that the Golden Turkey Awards book was co-written by Michael Medved. Like,
Yeah.
famously, a movie critic who was on TV, but also like a conservative commentator. And if conservatives are good at anything, it's like just not fucking getting art.
Yeah.
There's that, yeah.
And I would put this in the category of art with a capital A. Like Elizabeth Taylor, like it's like, fuck it. It goes balls out. It's really fucking good.
My good friend OK Fox is a very good friend of mine. We watched this together. It was Transcendent, and they described it. They're a huge Annette head. They love the movie Annette, and I think it's in the same category as Annette, which is to say, like, that's a movie that pisses you off unless you know exactly what went into it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's if you know what it's doing, which is, it's a movie, but like Sparks are involved.
Mm-hmm.
The musicians, the band Sparks, and it's like it's a musical made by Sparks. Yeah, of course, it's confusing. It's like a French movie musical made by Sparks. So like that, that movie pissed me off, like until I was 60% of the way through, and then I'm like, I think I love this fucking movie, and that's like kind of the trajectory. I didn't have it with this movie, but like with its reputation was just like, oh no, I really like this, or I don't know. I've thought a lot about. Don't want to drag this on too long, but like the good IMDb ratio, because I remember looking up the movie Birth. If you've ever seen the movie Birth,
Right, with the Jonathan Glazer film.
yeah, and it's like that's like a 6.3 on IMDb.
Oh my
which
god,
is
people got so mad at that movie when it came out.
because it's good. Because it's a good fucking movie.
Well,
because it makes you feel feelings.
Well, because like I think
Oh,
people,
no, can't have that.
In America at least, we have a tendency to like, we see the premise of a movie and we're like, well, that's not okay. And you see a lot of that
Right.
online today. Like a lot of art, filmed art and otherwise, will be just categorically dismissed by kind of the blue noses of the internet. And what's distressing about that is that often it's like quite young people who are affecting this like very conservative attitude towards art, where it's like, well, like that's not okay. And it's like, Jesus Christ, like it's life. It's like, it's not always going to be okay.
That's a thing people have a hard time wrestling with.
Yeah. And, kind of like Liz Taylor's character in this movie, like they would rather be walled off. They want to control the environment. They don't want to feel anything that makes them uncomfortable. Like they certainly don't want to face death. And it's like, yes, death is fucking scary. It's coming for you
They're
regardless.
running from something.
Yes, and I said this to Tim earlier, where I was trying to describe like what made the movie still relevant today, and part of it is that we are plagued even more, and I think Losey is like an erstwhile communist, like really understood this. We are positively plagued by rich people making like their hysterical fears our problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's gone beyond like just the fear. It's like, oh God, like it'll be terrible if I die personally. Like now the thing to do if you're like Silicon Valley billionaire is to be like, okay, well, I am going to seed the earth with my children. I'm not going to actually fuck to do it because that's gross. I'm just going to send women my jizz.
literally unfuckable.
I would suggest if people have never seen it, Google Mark Zuckerberg's house, and then think about it in the context of this movie.
Yeah.
Because
The house is an interesting character.
well, Mark Zuckerberg's house looks like he made that shit in Minecraft. Like it's really ugly. Like it looks like he lives in Roblox. It's fucked up, and he has these like fucked up basement compounds that are like prepper adjacent. They're not good,
Mhm.
and it's this sort of externalized fear of
Yes.
of what people will come people are gonna kill me. People are gonna come for me. I better prepare. And like that's
Mhm.
basically what this movie kind of is. It's like she's the one that survived. She was the death character. She was the servant style invader in the house of 5 men, and the 6 of which she actually loved. And now she has one there, and she's too close to death to if she does acknowledge it, she doesn't want to admit that she needs that. She
Yeah.
needs someone to do what she gave to her,
Because
or what she gave to other people.
like another interesting factor of the movie is that, and this comes out later in the movie, because early on we see her being confronted by locals, people from off the island, who are like,
Yeah.
like this kid like died on your island, and his widow is like impoverished, and she's very imperious. She's like, oh, he was a thief, accusing him of trying to steal her diamonds and like blah blah blah. But we learn later in the movie, like, she invited him to the island, and it's presented in kind of like the sexual context. So it's like, oh, okay, like, it's okay for you to just like, use people and throw them away, accuse them of thieving, like when you have everything and they're struggling. Like, it's tale as old as time. Like, this is wealth and power, like, writ large.
She basically did forget that she did that. Like she
Yeah.
at one point, I think he mentions that like they had known that. I think you saw me at a hotel or something, and I was like, come on back. And she's like, and whether that's true or not is irrelevant, because it's something she would do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's more indicative.
But yeah, that's that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just was going to derail and say I would like to see this staged with ab-fab characters. I
Pats.
would like to see Edwina as go forth.
I think I'd read but couldn't confirm that there were Sean Connery. Like they tried him out a little bit.
They did.
And I would've-
They really wanted Connery,
Oh.
but back when they were like, I think they were working more within the parameters of the original play, and that is like a pair of archetypes, is like the, kind of like the horny widow and the hot walker, and
Yeah.
going back to something that you said earlier when we started talking, Chris, you mentioned briefly that the perception of this movie is that it's like horribly miscast, because like, yes, like Elizabeth Taylor was 35 when she made this, not 60.
Practically dead, yeah.
Well, we all know like the expiration date for women is like, pretty far down. And
You know that.
Burton, God, and I love Richard Burton, and like I don't fucking care. Like the perception of him at the time was that this was a man of the theater who was prodigiously gifted and had wasted his talent in crap, making like these corny ass movies like the Fury, and appearing on like Jeff Wayne's like musical version of War of the Worlds. It's like, no, man, like let him cook, because like I'll watch Burton doing anything. Like I love him in Exorcist 2. Like I do not give a shit. Like he's amazing. He is not a tab hunter, and it is funny to see him like acting around the residue of the original play, the the part of the young buck who like swims up very manfully and strongly to this island, and takes this woman in his arms. Like, it's Richard Burton. He's like he's slowly drinking himself to death. I think he died like in the mid 80s, so he didn't have like that much long left. There's a part where she says to him like, "Oh, you've got a good pair of legs," or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, he really doesn't, but who gives a shit? He's got a hairy chest. He's Richard Burton.
Again, it's not about what.
You'll do.
Who gives a shit about the play? I mean, that's the thing. It's like everybody's like,
True.
"Oh, he's really miscast." I was like, "Did you watch the play? Did you read the play? No, you don't fucking care." Like you like 3 people and a dog saw the play. You know what I mean? Like it was generally considered to be like the tail end, like the sort of decline, if I remember correctly, of him as a playwright. And so it's like, why would you like? Who cares? Like it's whatever. Like he rewrote it for him. They reinterpreted it. So like, he's supposed to be this like death-like figure. Like he's supposed to be death and Christ and like, a Greek god coming out of the ocean. But the difference between like a Tab Hunter style, god, like an Apollo or something like that,
Or
or
Terrence
Dionysus.
Stamp in what's that Pasolini film where he just basically like runs through the whole household? Fuck, what is
Oh
it?
God!
Teorema.
God, that one, the fucking
Yeah.
Teorema,
Yeah.
yeah, the which got remade sort of several times, or I guess Visitor Q sort of is a Teorema remake spiritually, loosely defined, I guess. But this sort of otherworldly sexual godlike character,
Right.
who is, I don't know, I think Burton works his death because he's constantly dying.
That's a really good
And
point. Like I think
he's fucking-
you've convincingly made the case for Burton in that role.
He's like in a weird, he's in a shawl, like he's in a death shawl, and
Yeah.
he's like, I'm here to fucking collect. And like the insane like 60s Zen, like combination Hindu Zen Buddhist, like in a blender attitude that he has, this like
Yes.
acid washed Kevorkian, like, is something that could only exist in, like, again, the 1960s, or if you are a death god. Like, those are the only ways in which that makes sense. Like, he's given, like she gives him, like, the coin for the river of death. She gives
Yeah.
him her passage, and he puts it in a glass and throws it in the ocean, because that is the boom. That's the moment. Like the Costco guys. There's the boom.
That's a really good point. And like I said, I think you've made a really convincing case for the appropriateness of Burton for the role, because, like, I mean, ultimately, if we're speaking about gods, like a god of death, like, the fuck does it matter? Like, what body he comes to you in? Like, he's a god.
That guy's usually a skeleton.
Right. And, they got no muscle.
They got no muscle mass. They do have good legs, though.
That's true. I do love a well-turned skeletal angle. But,
Yeah, a little bit.
and, Taylor, again, is, like, people push against her in this role, but, I mean, hey, she was a famous invalid. She is so imperious. Like, it is so glorious to watch her, like, just sweeping around this house in her caftan, like, barking orders at people, like, gesturing, like, telling Mrs. Black, like, you get out there, you tell him. And I'm like, oh, damn. Like, and I see why so many people like John Waters, like, just love this movie, because, like, yes, that is, like, high camp, but it's also, like, this is a, like Brian Quimby's types of guy. This is a type of gal, and she's bigger than life. and Elizabeth Taylor is, like, so fucking good. And she was, like, 35 or 36 at the time.
It was rough. I mean, also people forget that, like, sunscreen hadn't been invented yet in a meaningful way.
Yeah, and everybody
Or it was
smoked.
like SPF 1.
Yeah.
Which I remember is logarithmic, actually, so it wasn't as bad as, like.
Oh, is it? That's
1.
interesting.
Yeah, so it's like 1 is twice as much. You know what I mean?
So it's like decibels.
Yeah, it's kind of like decibels.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, like, she's kind of, just this element of, like, you don't want to say she's just like me for real, because she's not. She's like any of us, but, like, you want to be able to have the same, like, you'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that, but I kind of do. You know what I mean? There's, like, a
Right.
little bit of that where it's just like, you're like, that is kind of tight, I guess. Like, not really, but a little bit.
And
Tim,
Tim can attest to this. I have been that dramatic in the past.
It is a temperament, in alignment with the curse of your sex.
Just cut to Tim with just, like, suddenly getting, like, 1,000-yard stare.
you don't want to be mean to servants, but you would like to be drinking in that location wearing those sunglasses. And that's why gay men like this movie. Because it's because it's like, oh, she's such a bitch, but God, I love her. It's like that, like embodying the worst and
Fabulous.
best qualities
Yes.
of what you would want to be in certain ways, and also how you are constantly afraid of death and aging, which is also kind of a gay thing.
True.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, you could end up like Tennessee Williams, just with some side piece rent boy.
Yeah, and then Choky. Was he the? No, I'm thinking of a different writer. Did Tennessee Williams choke to death, or am I thinking of a different author?
I think that was the cause of death was listed as choking, but I think it was a heart
Right.
attack.
I think because God, there was some author who died when he was putting drops in his eye, and he was holding the cap in his
That
mouth.
was him.
Okay, that was
That was
him.
how it was reported. He was reported to have choked to death from inhaling a plastic cap.
Well, it beats a
might have been
carotene death.
barbiturates. Yeah, that's like a died by drowning, but maybe I didn't kind of situation.
Death by misadventure.
Yeah, he'd been Seconal.
My man did a lot of hard living, and I mean, being a gay man in the 20th century, like, who can blame him?
I mean, if you have a barbiturate problem, you get to 71, you kind of won.
That's true. And
That's a real hard thing to do.
yeah, because like geez, and it's like very much more difficult to get barbiturates these days because they're
You
so
basically
dangerous. Like, and this was back when they used to hand them out like candy, because like they didn't know, like, these will fuck your ass up. But
I mean, we have Xanax now, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because that's what happened. Is benzos and kind of replaced them and Quaaludes, and I guess on some level.
yeah, man, like, something was truly lost when they outlawed Quaaludes in the United States. But I'm told that you can still get them in South Africa. So
I heard India.
yeah, probably. Well, anyway, like, if you are listening and you have acquired Quaaludes overseas, write in info@haveyouseen.us. But
Do you have Quaaludes? This is the name of the podcast.
Send them as an attachment. Yeah.
well, I want to thank you, Chris, again,
Of course.
for bringing this movie to my attention. Because, like I said earlier, like, I had been aware of it, but I never experienced it. Now I have experienced it, and I think I am boom-pilled.
I'm glad that you've experienced the sensation of being alive every moment. Boom, by way of Burton and Taylor and Lucy and Slocum. And basically everyone who's firing on all cylinders to create something truly confusing to most people, but to those who have the vision and the sight, and to those who have seen the Death God and know
Richard Burton.
yeah, there are those who know, I think, and those are the boomers.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, you can show your support by going to patreon.com/haveyouseenthis and make a pledge at the $2 or $5 tier. $5 a month gets the latest episode before everyone else, plus access to our Discord, where we're always arguing about movies. If you'd like to give us a tip, our Ko-Fi link is in the show notes.
And when death comes to me, finally, I hope it is in the person of Richard Burton.
That would be sick, actually. I would welcome death if it was Richard Burton. That would be so tight. I'd be like,
Like,
Yeah,
can't
hell,
even
even
be
if he
mad.
just-
don't talk
talk-
about our son that way. Now.
Even if he just talked like Richard Burton, I'd be like, okay, I can die now.